Welcome back to the Artefactors Union. I am your host and foreman, Douglas Scoundrels. Today we are assembling the Youko Core box. For the Ten Thunders faction, this would be the Kiangong keyword. A bunch of Geisha and a bodyguard are the models we're going to be assembling, starting with Youko the Master, Chiyo the Totem, Bill Algren, our gentleman with the big hat, and then 3 Geisha. That's our artwork. Looking at the renders, lady with sword, parasol, big burly man, small child, and then ladies. Alright, let's look at our sprue. One thing I've noticed is flowy clothes tend to have a lot of bits to them. This is a lot more than I was expecting from a bunch of people on small bases. And only one guy with a weapon. Well, never mind. Yoko's got the sword. What was I thinking? Anyways, let's also have Chiyo on her own sprue. This is what we're looking at. So, Youko up there, and then we'll do Chiyo, Bill, and then our 3 Geisha. Let's look at the instructions for Youko, Chiyo, and Bill, and then we'll get started on Youko. Yoko's order of assembly. Let me fix my lighting. We will start with the front half of her, include the chunky shoe and foot right there. Then we'll enclose the body with the back half. We will combine the hand holding the pole of the parasol, then glue the 2 pieces of the parasol onto that, then glue that combination to her right here. We will then do her sleeve, our left hand sleeve, and then finally complete with the left arm and the sword being drawn out of the parasol. Okay, so let's start with these 2 pieces. Front half of Youko, and her 1 foot we can see is going to be poking out of this groove down here. So we'll actually glue it in from the back side, from inside the model. Yeah, you can see this wonderful space for it right there, so do that. Okay, you can see it pretty much takes up the majority of the space. I guess the problem is that you can barely see it on this side, but she's got a foot now, and we can include the rest of the body, so do the other half of the body now. Okay, there's 1 whole Youko body, minus a weapon and some limbs. For crying out loud, camera. Thank you. There's our seam. Nothing too terrible. Might do a little bit of squishing just to make sure it closes better. But we're going to set her aside and begin working on the parasol. So we're going to do 3 pieces. The right hand and the pole of the parasol. And then we're going to glue the half of the parasol with the tip onto it first. And then follow up with the other half that doesn't have the tip and closing them around this piece. And then we'll attach that piece to the body. Okay, you can barely see down there, but the connection point for the handle of the parasol is unique. It's not like a full circle, so it's going to matter how these are attached to the handle. But let's go. Come on. Okay, looking at the handle, you can see it's more or less a semicircle with a bit of a notch on this side. So the part of the umbrella that it has the tip has a much deeper connection point than the other side. So we're going to glue it on this side, or here. Oh goodness, it's so small. Right here, we're going to connect it on this part. Alright, here is our piece, and you can see how it connects in there. Now let's do the other half of the umbrella. Okay, those are our 2 pieces combined. I'm not going to tug on it. I'll leave it as is. It's not falling off, and any sort of messing with it's probably going to pull it out of where it's supposed to connect. So let's add that to the body. You can see the connection point. Oop. You can see the connection point right here. That is going to attach right there. Alright, we are almost done with her already. Let's go ahead and add her left sleeve right there. Sleeve is in. We're going to check our seams. Looks to be good. Might need a little bit of filling just to connect the last piece, but our last piece is going to be her forearm and hand of her left arm, And it is holding a sword that is connecting to this sort of dragon mouth here on the handle of the parasol. There we go. Checking the elbow. Connection looks good. Not going to fiddle with it too much because it's just going to make things worse. We're going to call her good and get her on a base. Youko Hamasaki is done. Hardest part was assembling the umbrella and getting the sword aligned with it. Everything else, yeah, pretty simple. Just really getting the parasol, two halves of the parasol together and then into the handle without anything popping off or getting misaligned, and then the sword sort of aligning it with the handle, but not completely. Not the worst master I've had to do. Let's move on to our totem. Okay, so for Chiyo, we are going to combine the two halves of the body. And then we'll do the right foot, the left foot, I think those are correct. The left arm, the right arm behind her back, and her head. Okay. And start with Chiyo's back. And add the front. Seems not terribly great. I could do some messing with it if I wanted to. I'm not gonna, though. Let's look at her feet. As noted before, right foot and, oh goodness, right foot and left foot. So here's her body, and here's our feet holes. Right foot and our left foot. Just press her down onto a flat surface and make sure she's not leaning too far forward and let them cure. You'll be fine. Okay, let's do our right arm, which is the long one, going down this, where she's holding the ninja star. This is the left arm. I'm dumb. Right there it is. This is what it looks like from the front. And now we'll do the actual right arm, the one that's holding the knife, covering up this space on her back. Okay, there's the right arm. Let's look at our seam. All in all, pretty good. Well, let's just give her a head. This game is a lot more violent in children than you expect from a minis game. Chiyo's done. Let's put her on a base. Chiyo Hamasaki is done. I realize that she's kind of leaning back a bit too far. I might need to adjust those feet a bit, but really the hard part was the feet. They just kind of got weird stubby connections and don't solidify very confidently. But shouldn't be that hard for me to nudge it in the right spot, or at worst break it off and then reattach it. Let's move on to our big boy of the box. Alright, let's move on to Bill Algren. I just got a bunch of super glue on my hand. Anyways, we will grab the torso and then put the legs on. Do the sides of the armor and the front of the armor, followed by his, I think, sleeves, and then his arms. Then we're free to do the giant spear on his back and the hat on his head. So we will grab this piece first, then this piece, and then these three. And I'm mistaken, it's not going to work out very well doing it that way. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the sides of the armor onto the legs first, and then I think glue that entire thing onto the torso. We'll see, but let's go ahead and start with the right side with that lovely connection point right there. And this will be on his right side, and this will be on his left side. There we go. Doesn't need to be perfect, but I'm also now realizing we need to put the front armor piece on before we attach this to the upper body at all. So let's go ahead and do the left side now. Okay. I guess we could get a rear view from both of those. That looks pretty good. Now let's add the chest armor piece, which will connect the two armor pieces together. Notice the connection points there match up to the connection points here. I'll just squeeze them together at the top to fill in those gaps. And now we can finally jam that onto the upper torso. Okay. That looks pretty nice. Gonna change up our order, I think, a little bit. Again, we'll go and do the arms now and just sort of enclose his torso, and then we'll do the sleeves. And those went also on easily. Heck yes. Okay, well, let's talk about our sleeves. this is going to be our right sleeve, and this is going to be our left sleeve. Okay, our right sleeve is going to connect right in there and go down here, but also across the sleeve up there. Note the ball connection point matches up to the bit. Oh, that should pop into place and be a pretty tight fit with a fairly small seam. Now let's do the left side. Our connection point is right here, going across there, and this one's pill-shaped. And left sleeve is also in. This one didn't even need popping. It just fit in real nice and smoothly. Alright, the giant spear on his back. You can see the connection point right there. Matches up to right here on the bit. And there it is. I guess I should point out that the spear tip is pointing up. Right, that's what it looks like from the front. Now we can do his head. You see the connection point there. Matches up to right here. So this is towards the back of the head. He's got a hat. It's a lovely hat. Alright, he looks great, and he's done. Let's put him on a base. Bill Algren is completed. The hardest part for him was getting the armor aligned up and sort of constructing the body. Everything was just sort of loosely connected before we finished it. Really kind of stretching for a difficult part here, though. Sleeves, fairly simple, and everything else was fairly simple. I guess figuring out how the hat went on, maybe. No, really, simple. I'm just going to keep saying simple, I guess. Let's move on. Okay, it has been over a week, and I am back from a convention with Con Crud. I hope you can still understand me. Let's finish up this core box with our minions, the Geisha. Let's look at their instructions first, and then we'll get started with Geisha number 1, or A. Our instructions are as follows until I mess it up. We'll grab the back half of the body. We will attach the one leg to it. Then we will do this part of the skirt, add the other leg right here, finish up with the front half of the body. Then after that we can do excuse me, the right arm, the right hand, the left arm, the left hand, and the head. So let's grab these two pieces first. Leg has a very obvious connection point that will slot right in there. Okay, that's what the two pieces combined to look like. There's a nice groove along here that follows the shape of the calf, which should help you out. Okay, let's look at our next two pieces. This is the part of the skirt that will go onto the model's back left, and this is the leg that should connect to this piece of the skirt. Let's keep going. Our piece of skirt is going to fit right along this connection point. Okay. This seam back here is the one you need to be concerned with. I guess the split is supposed to be there, so don't be afraid of that. Now let's add our other leg right in this big groove. Oh, and there is this lovely connection point for the foot on the skirt. Right there, you can see the shape of the foot. Okay, cool. Now let's add the front part of the torso, I guess. The rest of the dress, whatever you want to call it. And that just popped on without any trouble whatsoever. Okay, let's look at our last 5 pieces. Let's do the right arm, the right hand and forearm, the left arm, the left hand and fan, and then the head. Alright, our right arm is going to go right in there. Okay. Just double check our seams on both sides. Now let's do the right forearm and hand. It is covering up where her head will eventually go. Did take a little bit of squishing to get it fully on there and in the right position. So keep that in mind. Okay, now let's do the left arm, the longer one. And also fairly simple. Just checking our seams. Now let's do the left hand. Okay, looking pretty good. Alright, let's do the head. There's enough space between the fan and the head that this wasn't like difficult because the fan was there. She's all done. Let's put her on a base. Geisha number 1 is done. We're going to call her Kiharu. The hardest part for assembling her was figuring out how the legs interacted with the skirt. And, well, really, that was the hard part for me. I showed you how it goes together. So the hardest part for you is plopping the head on there, if you decide to do the head last, like I did, or if not, you put it on before you do the arms, then I can't really tell you what the hardest part is. But fairly simple build overall. Let's move on to our next one. Our second geisha, having a semi-similar setup as the last one. We'll grab the back right skirt and then the right leg, the back left skirt and the left leg, the front of the torso, the rest of the skirt, whatever, the back of the torso, and we'll go and do the right arm, the right hand, the left arm, the left hand, and the head. So let us start with these 2 pieces. In fact, 3 and 4. Back right skirt, plus the right leg. That sits in there quite solidly. And the back left skirt. Split is supposed to be there in the back. Our left leg is going to have to swoop up inside there. Might have been smarter to put it in before I combined the 2 halves of the skirt, but we'll give it a shot. Okay, that wasn't too hard. Kind of stuck up in there and then squeezed around right there with my tweezers to just sort of jam it in the right place. Okay, let's do the front of the torso now. Okay, we have an almost complete torso, but then we got part of the back missing. Let's add that now. Okay, done with our legs and our torso. Let's revisit the arms. Right arm, right hand, left arm, left hand, head. Okay, right arm is going to go in the right arm socket, right shoulder socket. Okay, it's going to be holding the fan right in front of her torso, and let that cure pretty well before we put the right hand on. Okay, right hand fits on top of the sleeve, and will not quite be covering up the head, but the seam looks really good. Okay, let's do our left arm. I'm going to fit in the left shoulder socket. Fix my lighting. There is the connection on the shoulder. It's got a nice, much bigger connection point than the right arm was. Now let's add in our left arm and that notch on the sleeve. Okay. Alright. Our last bit is going to be the head. Put it right on the neck stump. And there is our head. It's looking pretty good. Alright, I think she's done. Let's put her on a 30mm. Geisha number 2 is done. We're going to call this one Sada. Yeah, legs. And still kind of stretching on the difficulty there. Hardest part was figuring out the legs jammed in there. Yeah, that's it. Let's move on to our last one. Our last geisha. Let's start with the back half of the torso, body, really. Then we'll do the right leg, the left leg, then the front half of the body, the right arm, the right hand, the left arm, the left hand, and the head. Like one or two fewer bits than the last few, so it'll be even easier, right? Okay, grab the body and the legs. We're going to specify the back of the body. Our right leg is going to glue right in there. You see that lovely connection point. And then our left leg is going to glue in there. You see that connection point as well. To reference, our right leg is the longer one. And we're going to be... There's where that connection point is going to go. And our left leg is the shorter one. And that smaller connection point is going to go right there. Okay. Here's our right leg. You can see it fitting inside the sort of curve of the hip here. Real nice. Alright, let's do our left leg now. Actually, I think it's going to be a lot easier if we put it in attached to the front half of the body. So this is our front half, and our left leg, the front of the thigh, is going to fit right in there. There we go, nice and snug, and the foot is flush with the skirt. So we should just be able to jam this on top of our back calf of the body, and we're done with the legs and body. Okay, our two halves are mashed together. The seams look very nice. They went together real easy. So let's quickly look at our arms and do our order one last time. So this is going to be our right arm and our right hand, then our left arm, the left hand, and then the head. Right arm, right shoulder socket. Sadly, there is like no tooth and hole situation, so you're just going to have to wiggle it around until the seams look good. Alright, now let's do the right arm. Just going to go, right hand, right arm, forearm, hand, whatever, right here. Okay. Seam looks good. Now, let's do our left arm, which is going to fit right here, and thankfully has a tooth and hole situation. And there is that. Let's look at the seam on the back real quick. Yeah, pretty good. Now our left hand right here. Okay, left hand is on. Seam also looks good. Let's plop our head right down on the neck. Head will be facing her left fairly significantly. Okay, all done. Base time. Geisha number 3 is completed. We're going to call her Minako. The hardest part was really a tie between figuring out the left leg and eventually deciding that probably should be attached to the front half of the body instead of the back half, and slotting the right arm into place just because there's no obvious purchase. You just gotta eyeball it. But overall, easy model and a kind of easy box, I guess. Alright, let's look at the whole thing. The Youko Core box is done, containing Youko Hamasaki, Chiyo Hamasaki, Bell Algren, and 3 Geisha. Box is just really 6 human-sized characters. Bill's kind of big and Chiyo's kind of small, but just not a ton of pieces in between them, but they had some hard parts. The umbrella was a little awkward to figure out. Chiyo's feet kind of suck. I completely botched initially. The armor on Bill, and then the legs on the Geisha were all just a little awkward, but not nearly my most difficult box to assemble. And the nice thing is the Geisha were very, very similar assemblies, so those went pretty quick once you take out the fact that I had COVID. Anyways, that's all I've got to say about this box. I'm happy to be back, and I have been your foreman, Douglas Scoundrels, helping you build a better Malifaux.